Hi everybody, this lesson will focus on graph modeling. For better illustration, we will first use Ultipa Manager to demonstrate the operations on graph set and graph modeling. Then we will summarize the key points of study and go through the syntax of related UQL commands. After logging into Ultipa Manager and connect to an Ultipa server, the editor box on top is the Ultipa web-based CLI, where we can compose UQL and send it to the server. The current username and the current graph set are displayed in the left end. Clicking the graph set name will trigger the show graph operation. The show graph command is auto-composed and executed. In the result window, each row is a graph set with name, number of nodes and edges, status, and description displayed. Graph set status is either mounted or unmounted. If a graph set is unmounted, the data created to accelerate queries against this graph set will be removed, and this includes the properties loaded to the server memory, as well as the index and full text stored in the server disk. The number of nodes and edges of an unmounted graph set will not be calculated. The only operation that can be executed against an unmounted graph set are modifying the graph set name and description, mounting back the graph set, and completely delete the graph set. Mounting a graph set will restore those removed data back to the server memory and disk. Graph set default is auto-created during the initial launching of an Ultipa graph system. It cannot be renamed, cannot be unmounted, and cannot be deleted. Deleting all nodes, all edges, or both from a graph set are usually realized with truncate operation. The truncate operation only clears metadata of a graph set without deleting schemas or properties. If the whole graph set is deleted, then all the metadata as well as the graph model are deleted. Since any manipulation of graph set data will produce redundant data in the server, running compact on a regular basis is suggested. Compact operation does not change the graph set data. Here is the summary of knowledge points of graph set, and most of them are covered in the demonstration just now. You can make a screenshot for a later review. Let's check the syntax of related commands. We can either show all the graph sets in the current Ultipa graph system or show a specific graph set by providing the graph set name. Creating graph set requires the graph set name, which is mandatory, and the description, which is optional. It is allowed to create multiple graph sets in one command. Please follow the naming conventions when providing the graph set name. We can change the name or description of only one graph set at a time, but we can delete multiple graph sets at the same time. We can truncate metadata in different scopes, truncate all the metadata, truncate metadata of a specific schema, or truncate all nodes or all edges. Mount, unmount, and compact all allowed only one graph set to be processed at a time. Now let's check the graph model. Under module schema, all node schemas and edge schemas are listed. They both have a default schema which cannot be renamed and cannot be deleted. The properties shown under a schema are all the properties created by the user, while those system properties like the ID of node, ID of edge, and the ID of starting node and ending node of edge are not shown in the list. System properties cannot be renamed or cannot be deleted. Deleting a non-system property will delete the property values both from the disk and from the server memory if the values of these properties are previously loaded to the server memory. The index and full text of this property will also be deleted from the server disk. Deleting schema will delete all its metadata and all its properties. Now let's start from scratch to make a new graph set and its graph model. The graph model is about bank card transaction. It has a node schema named card and an edge schema named transfer. The card has balance, level, and open date. Please refer to the UQL document for details on the differences between similar property types, such as float and double, string and text, datetime and timestamp. And make sure to select the correct property type, which cannot be changed once the property is created. Transaction has amount, transfer date, and remark. Now the graph model is created. In Ultipa Manager, there's a memo board where we can draft the graph model. Drag several card nodes and add several transfer edges to make them transferring to each other. Need to mention, this is only a draft for better understanding about the graph model that we've created. It is not inserting nodes or edges into the graph set. Here is the summary of knowledge points of graph modeling. Most of them are covered in the demonstration just now. And this is the summary of property types. And we want to mention the data type, which is array. Array is not a property type, but it frequently occurs during the execution of UQL, and it supports flexible call format for the elements in it. Now, let's check the syntax. We can show all schemas in the current graph set, or show all node schemas, edge schemas, or only a specific schema. Creating schema requires to provide schema name with or without description. Schema has a naming conventions which is much flexible than that of a graph set. But those system-reserved words are not allowed to be used as schema name. Both the name and the description of schema are allowed to be changed. One or multiple schemas are allowed to be deleted at a time. Similar with show schema, show property can also be applied with different scope. We can create a property for schema, as well as creating properties with a same name for all the node schemas or all the edge schemas. The naming convention of property follows that of schema. If property type is omitted, it will be taken as string by default. But the description should also be omitted in this case. Changing the name or description of property can be applied to a specific property or properties with the same name under any node schema or any edge schema. And deleting property with a specific name can be applied to a specific schema or to any node schema or any edge schema.